The air we breathe in Philly is getting worse, significantly worse. The American Lung Association reported that this year, the Philly region is the 26th worst out of 200 regions in the United States, and it's having a dramatic effect on our health. I talked with Philly-based freelance writer Jordan Teicher about why the air quality has taken a nosedive and what can be done about it. It's Monday, September 29th. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's what we're breathing in Philly. Jordan, you wrote about this report that I just mentioned for Grid Magazine, an environmental publication here in Philly, that ranked the Philly area the 26th worst for air quality in the country, which is a big drop from the 65th spot we held last year. What's going on with our air?
The air in Philly is not good, and it's getting worse. The last time this report came out, we weren't doing so well, and things have gotten worse since then. The American Lung Association puts out this report every year. It ranks 200 metro areas according to 3 measures of air quality. It's called the State of the Air Report. And those measures are ozone smog, short-term particle pollution, and year-round particle pollution. And across all 3 measures, Philly has a failing grade. And that's pretty unusual. There are not too many counties across the country that get straight Fs. So this is really concerning for Philadelphians who want to breathe clean air.
So our air quality is bad. What makes it so bad?
The report looks at 3 measures of air quality. Ozone smog comes from chemicals released by vehicles and industrial facilities. Short-term particle pollution and year-round particle pollution, which are liquid and solid droplets in the air, like dust and dirt, soot and smoke. And across the board, Philadelphia got failing marks. And it also showed that Philadelphia got worse across all 3 of those measures since the last report came out.
Okay, so those are some failing grades. So why did the air quality take such a dip? What has happened in the area that caused such a dramatic change?
The biggest thing that happened since the last report came out is that we saw a lot of wildfire smoke from Canada back in the summer of 2023.
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
And we saw the impacts of that here in Philly. So we saw the rating for particle pollution here in the city go from a C to an F. And the experts that I spoke to told me that the wildfire smoke is largely to blame for that.
Has there been any uptick in wildfires in the past years?
Yeah, climate change is causing wildfires all around the world. And the Canada wildfires in 2023 were a really dramatic example of that. The impacts both on Canadians, but also people in cities and states, hundreds of miles away, including here in Philadelphia. And experts I spoke with say that we're only going to see more wildfires as the climate crisis intensifies.
Jordan, you also write that another factor in all of this is transportation. How does transportation impact air quality?
According to the report's authors, the largest contributor to poor air quality is from transportation. So some of the areas that have the biggest exposure to unhealthy air pollution are neighborhoods that are near highways. And in Philly, many of us know that the Department of Transportation is trying to expand highways, widen I-95 through South Philly. So if these plans come to fruition, we're only going to see bigger impacts on our air quality here in the city.
Jordan, the data from the American Lung Association was gathered in the period of 2021 to 2023. Do we know if the air has gotten better or worse since then?
The American Lung Association is very likely working right now on next year's report. But if I had to guess, things are probably not going to get much better. We now have an administration in Washington, D.C. that is opening up federal lands to drilling and making it easier to create new fossil fuel projects. It's also making it harder to create renewable energy. And it's also canceling federal grants to fund new bike lanes, which would take cars off the road. So at a time when we need to be moving away from fossil fuels and fossil fuel-based transportation, we seem to be digging our heels in and going full steam ahead toward a dirtier future for our air.
That period of 2021 to 2023 was the Biden administration. So I'm wondering, is the Trump administration all to blame for all of this, though?
No, it's not all to blame. There's plenty of blame to go around from Democrats and Republicans alike. I think that we have yet to see a government really at any state or federal level that's prioritizing people's health and prioritizing, frankly, the climate crisis in the way that it should.
We'll talk more about how the air conditions can impact our health. That's after the break. So, we talked about some of the contributing factors to Philly's poor air quality. How can air quality impact our health?
So, bad air quality is bad for everyone's health, but it's a particular risk for certain categories of people, young people under 18, people over 65, and people with pre existing lung or heart conditions, also pregnant people. And the health consequences can be really severe for those groups. When there's high levels of air pollution, people in those groups can't do the things that they need to do in their daily life, like go outside, and they especially can't do things that are particularly strenuous, like playing sports or doing hard work outside. And if those groups are doing any of those activities, they could need hospitalization. They might need medical care. They could even die as a result of air pollution. We also know there's a racial component here. So people of color are more than twice as likely as white people to live in areas where there's bad air pollution. So bad air pollution is bad for everyone, but it's not impacting everyone equally.
Well, Jordan, my kids play sports and I love taking walks in the morning along the Schuylkill. But how do I check that the air that we're breathing is safe on the day to day basis? Are there any resources for Philadelphians like myself to track air quality?
Yeah, if you're a person in a sensitive group or someone in your family is in that sensitive group, it is recommended that you check the air quality before going outside and planning your day. And there are resources that you can access. There's airnow.gov. That's a website, an app that's run by the EPA at the federal level that offers forecasts for air quality up to 5 days in advance. And it provides real time air quality information for the entire United States. There's also the Purple Air Map that's also free. It's an air quality map that gathers data from community owned air quality sensors. So both of those are resources that experts recommend you look at before going outside.
Gotcha. And I don't know, what about solutions here, Jordan? What can individuals do to try to make the air cleaner in our region?
Well, one thing they can do is contact their elected officials and let them know that air quality is a matter of concern. The American Lungs Association offers a form that makes it really easy to get in touch with local officials here in Philadelphia and at the state level. So there are things that we've done in the past to make our air cleaner. We've developed technologies that make cars and power plants cleaner. But at the same time, we have more cars on the road and growing energy demand. So at this point, the experts I spoke with say that we need to look at bigger solutions. We need to make our energy system fossil fuel free, and we need to transform our transportation system so that we're using modes of transportation that are either entirely non-polluting or are far less polluting. We can invest more in public transportation, for instance, and make it safer for people to bike around the city rather than getting in their cars. We can also work on ways to reduce energy demand. But right now, the state of Pennsylvania is kind of going in the opposite direction on that. Many know that the state is investing heavily in AI data centers, and those are going to be run mostly with fossil fuels. So we need to really think critically about how we're using energy in the state and in the city, and think about people's health when we're making those decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you just mentioned, I mean, Harrisburg still doesn't have a budget that's been passed. And we're in a state where issues like this are contentious, though, Jordan. So, how can people convince lawmakers to prioritize public transit and green solutions to clean up our air quality?
I think a lot of people are asking that question, and a lot of groups, including the Clean Air Council, which I spoke with, is prioritizing that when speaking with elected officials. But politicians are dealing with a lot of priorities from a lot of different groups, and a lot of it is strength in numbers. So if a lot of Philadelphians get together and say, hey, we need a city that prioritizes people's health, and that should be the metric by which we make all of our decisions, then politicians will listen. But again, politicians have a lot of other people's opinions in their ears, are thinking primarily about profits and business bottom lines first and foremost. And a lot of times that doesn't add up with a city that centers people's health.
Interesting. So the people that are lobbying to try to get our representatives in the state on the same page about some of these air quality initiatives, what initiatives are working though?
When I spoke with the head of the Clean Air Council, he mentioned programs like RISE PA, which help companies decarbonize their industrial facilities.
Basically, like get greener.
Exactly. And then if you're thinking about specifics, ways to mitigate air pollution, we could insist that the state fund SEPTA and increase and improve service so that fewer people feel the need to drive to go about their daily lives.
Jordan, you just mentioned some of the initiatives. I want to kind of get a sense of urgency, right? Like, what is the sense of urgency on all of this?
This is an urgent problem. According to the World Health Organization, 7 million people die every year from air pollution, and that's only going to get worse as the climate crisis intensifies. We need to urgently transform our energy system and, frankly, our economic system in ways that center human health. Otherwise, we're going to see more hospitalizations, more deaths in Philly and around the world. I think every Philadelphian deserves to live in a city where they can go outside and work, play, do whatever they need to do and not worry about the air quality. And right now, it is something that people need to take into consideration. A lot of Philadelphians fall into those sensitive groups, people who are particularly sensitive to bad air quality, and we need to be thinking about them and their needs.
Jordan, can you tell me one thing we can do as a city to just improve our air quality?
The biggest thing that we can do is switch away from fossil fuel-based transportation and heating. We can also get rid of dirty peaker plants and replace them with batteries. And then we can expand funding for things like public transportation that takes cars off the road. And we can invest in decarbonizing our industrial facilities. And we can reach out to our elected officials and try to exert some pressure, because really, while there are things that we can do as individuals to mitigate pollution, we really need change from the top down, and that's going to require grassroots pressure from as many people as possible.
Jordan, thank you so much for breaking this all down with me on CityCast Philly today.
Thanks for having me.
You can read Jordan's full story on Grid, and we'll have that link in the show notes. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you learned something about the air you breathe in this episode, make sure you tell a friend, and also rate the show. Leave us a review and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. And don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Philly neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.